Yeah, one question: how to use memory techniques at work? That was something you also wanted to reflect on and talk about. So,
Yeah,
what is your work?
so
What are you doing for living? And how do you use memory techniques there?
so this is a very fascinating
Mm-hmm.
topic. I'm a donation processing team leader at a nonprofit Christian organization.
Mm-hmm.
So think of like banking, but more for like donations
Mm-hmm.
for missionaries and different causes around the world. So I'll just give a few examples of how one can practically use memory techniques in the workplace. Number one is for training employees. So at my job, there's a lot of things to memorize. So we have um, uh, different departments and different types of mail goes to this department, and you have hundreds of items that need to go to that department. So let's say it's specialized donations. And then you have other items that need to go to another department, matching gift. So I have to teach others, well, how do I memorize all of these items so I don't make an error by processing something incorrectly? So what I do is I teach them the memory palace.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do is that each section of the building is a different is like a symbol for a certain department. So let's say the top floor, the top floor is specialized donations. And let's say the bottom floor is matching gift. So I would walk the staff around the top floor and I would choose locations. And I would say, everything in this top floor is for specialized donations. So let's say I want them to memorize B, and T goes to specialized donations. So I would say, you see your coworker over there at his desk. I want you to imagine that someone took a BB gun and shot it towards his head, and then it hit him in the head, and his face slammed into the computer. Uh, so let's
Drastic,
say
but yeah.
so let's say we have another one called Oppenheimer.
Uh-huh.
That goes to specialized donations. I would take them to a cabinet. So, and I would say Oppenheimer. It sounds like open and high. So I would ask them, do you have like a good friend? And I would say, I want you to imagine your friend is inside this cabinet or this shelf. And then when you open up the cabinet, so when you open, I want you to imagine your friend is just hiding in the cabinet, and then as you open it, he has this weird smile and he says, "Hi," like this creepy meme.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say it's Baird. So Baird goes to specialized donations. I would say, I want you to imagine a bird flying through a window and it shatters the window. So that's one technique.
And
The
just a question here, and at this point, how do people react to that? Do you do that with them, and how do they react to that?
so a lot of people haven't heard of the memory palace.
Uh-huh.
So when I first teach them, they are surprised that they're able to memorize, and I could have a person memorize 50 items in one day, and they're able to do it forwards, backwards. And I say, "What's this? What's that?" And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
this. And I train them very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So they're surprised of how effective the technique is. And usually they're like, wow, like this is amazing. So yeah, that is some of their reactions.
And they're really appreciated from the beginning because I feel it might feel a bit strange. So like, okay, well, we all go up now, and then you tell them crazy stories, and in the beginning they might be okay. What is that? What kind of training is that? But then they feel the experience, they get the experience that they can recall it. Cool, very interesting. So yeah, you wanted to share something else.
Yeah, so another thing is about memorizing instructions from a boss.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're in a meeting and your boss is is talking, or let's say he pulls you to the side and he says, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, and then I want you to do this, and I want you to do that. And you're like, okay, okay, wow, wow, that's so much information. So one thing I do is I use what is known as the body method, and I use the body itself as a memory palace. So let's say he says, well, I want you to send an email to, and I'm going to make up names, to to Kathy Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what I would do is I would imagine that so when I think of an email, I think of a like a letter. So I would imagine that there's a piece of paper on the top of my head, and I and it's glued to my head, and then I pull the letter,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say it opens up the top of my skull and
Mm-hmm.
my brain is being exposed, and then Kathy is coming out of my head and like making a weird face.
And
And then let's say,
your location is the head. That's why you're
yeah,
using
the
the
top
head.
of the head. So
Yeah.
that's location
Mm-hmm.
one. And so let's say the second one is I want you to make copies of these policies so you can give it to this person. So I would use my let's say my ear, and let's say I would imagine that it may sound a little strange, but I would imagine I would put my hand inside of my ear, and like I'm pulling out a copier machine, and like is I'm struggling to pull it out, and then I would just imagine it just flopping out onto the floor. And then I don't know, let's say the third instruction is to um
Book me a flight to Los Angeles.
yeah, book me a flight to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I would imagine my eye, it comes out of my sockets and it flies like an airplane.
Yeah.
And then it lands onto a table and starts rolling. So then when I walk away, I have those strong images, and then throughout the day I sort of review those things of what I have to do. And then I just make a checklist. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Check off one, check off two, check off three, and so on.
Would you recommend to let's say you're in this meeting, the boss is telling you all this stuff, you memorize it. Would you recommend to write it down after the meeting, or would you recommend to just use it on your memory palace?
Yeah, yeah. So just as in competitive memory sports, you can have gaps in your recall. So it's the same thing in the workplace. You can have gaps in your memory palace. You
Mm-hmm.
could say, oh, well, what was number two or what was number three? So what I would do is, so as he pulls me to the side and he gives these instructions, as I'm walking and I get to a place where I'm not being interrupted, sometimes I would go and then I would write it on a to-do list, or I would put it on a to-do list on my calendar to make sure I have it. But sometimes I don't have access like that, or people are constantly talking to me. So sometimes I have to rely just on the palace. But yes, I
Mm-hmm.
do also rely on technology as well.
Cool. Anything else in terms of work?
In terms of work, memorizing, let's say, manuals.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm memorizing a verification manual, which is dealing with software and instructions and different procedures. So I also create memory palaces for that. And so I take the table of contents, and another technique I use is for each bolded section.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it's data completion. That's the section and is bolded. A part of my memory palace, I on that locus, I would insert that title, and then I would pour huge black paint all over the locus. And then when I get to the next section, I would have huge black paint being spilled on that locus. And then at the beginning of the memory palace, at the entrance, I sort of have this object that I pick up. Um, so I have section one, section two, section three, and it has the peg system, and and it's black, and I press the button and I'm sort of teleported to that section, and then black paint falls over me, and then I can teleport to the next black section. It's sort of like a filtering system. So then in each section, I would just insert all of the instructions on the different loci. So it's not a very detailed explanation because it would take hours to explain,
Sure.
but not hours, but you know. But yeah, that's another thing I do is memory palaces.
Yeah, and you mentioned the PAC system a couple of times. I think there's a lot of material out there, so if you want to find out about it, you can Google it, and I will also put some links to your content under the description. And it's really fascinating to listen to your approach and how you go forward with that. So what I also found, for example, is in terms of talking with people, sometimes you have someone talking to you, and this guy or girl is giving you just a monologue for 10 minutes, and you feel like you want to interrupt here, you want to interrupt there, you want to say at this point something, and the other person just keeps talking, and you are very kind, you don't interrupt. And then what you can do, and with experience and with practice, you can do that. You can also make it like the tasks from your boss, put it on your memory palace, put it in your on your body list, for example. Just these topics the person is talking about, and then when the person finishes, then you can say, okay, I would like to answer to you on every point now. So your first point was that, your second point was that, your third point was that. That makes a huge impression. It's really like, wow, okay, what is going on here? And this is a social skill which you would develop just by that easy memory palace technique, like just a body palace, body method, body palace would work for that. That's, for example, one thing I'm actually doing more and more, because it feels so cool to give the people the chance to talk without interrupting, but still having everything what I want to talk about in mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, Ron, this is a fantastic talk today. In the end, I would like to ask you a bit about what do you think about memory sports in terms of sports? Is it something for you? You want to invest more time? Because, of course, memory sports is more or less memorizing stuff which you don't need. You have your list of numbers or cards or whatever. So is that also interesting for you in terms of just getting training, or also for competing, for the competitions?
Yeah, so I'm still sort of figuring out my role in the world of memory. So there's a part of me that wants to write books, articles, having podcasts, and sort of like organizing events. And it's kind of hard balancing all of that with competing. But there's another part of me that says, yes, I wanna compete. So I've been thinking how to manage all of the things that I do. So I would like to compete. I've been training for um different opens. So I would like to go to France and compete in the national format if there's an open, or if there's one in Italy. I would like to compete in Memory League. I competed in season 15, but then I focused because I like memorizing texts, and sometimes my energy is consumed in memorizing those things. It's hard to balance. So, but yeah, I would love to, yeah, compete and be on Memory League and do the
Mm.
national. So yeah, I'm thinking perhaps next year you can possibly see me in a national format or Memory League.
Cool. Yeah, Katie is mentioning it's hard to do it all, and that's true. And I feel, I mean, it will be great to see you in competitions. But on the other hand, I also see that you have already a role here in the memory world. You have a niche here. You have your like Anthony Metavier, looking from a different perspective on all this stuff, and this is really something people appreciate. So I'm very happy and honored that you have been here today and talked so deeply about all this stuff. So thank you very much, Ron. Something in the end you want to mention, or something which I forget to ask?
Yeah, there's one thing I wanted to mention is that I have a lot of ideas, and one idea I want to mention, and perhaps we can cultivate like more of community and people helping each other to make memory sports and memory in general more popular, is that I want to I have this idea of creating an app, sort of like I don't know if you've heard of italki for
No.
language learning, where you can learn languages and they have videos of all of the teachers, and then you can book a lesson. So I would like to create a platform where you can have memory coaches um, with different rates, and they can book lessons, because I think people need to make a living off of memory sports, and I think one way is to like make it more popular through this way, and also creating sort of like a community app where you can post pictures, have likes, sort of like a Instagram combined with italki, with Hello Talk. I don't know if you know that, but uh, yeah. So, and also I just wanted to encourage everyone, um, post content online. The one way to build this community is by sharing it on social media and having people have a glimpse in the world. So share your progress, open up a YouTube channel, open up a blog, support each other, retweet, like, share. The way to get it popular is by sharing your passion with others so they can see the beauty and the sort of the fascinating aspects of this sport. So yeah, those are my closing words that I would like to say.
Thank you very much. This is yeah, a nice summary also in the end how to improve the popularity of memory training, memory sports. And I also want to add here, don't be afraid of posting and sharing your stuff. Even though you feel like, okay, I'm still new in this memory sports community and I'm not so good like the other guys here, that doesn't matter. You're still way ahead of everyone who has never known or never heard about it. So share your stuff, and everyone is appreciating it. Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. It was cool to chat with you today. I will also upload it here on YouTube. Share your links. Anything specific which I should put out there? I mean, the craft of memory, of course. Anything else?
Yeah, I also have a blog called The Craft of Memory
Mm-hmm.
.substack. So it's on Substack. Uh, and also I just started a YouTube channel. It's called The Craft of Memory.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, podcast, that, the blog, and then my YouTube channel.
Cool.
And you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Yeah, also just your name, but I will link that in the
Yeah,
description.
yeah,
So,
Ronald Johnson
yeah,
_ member.
cool. Thank you, Ron. Have a nice day. It's still daytime
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, still day.
Yeah, for me it's 6 p.m. now. I will have some dinner. Thank you very much. Have a nice one,
Yeah,
and see you soon around here on Memory Sports TV.
yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye bye.